Vox 125 head. This is early 80s, I think. It's not a really vintagely old one, but I suppose 40 years plus counts as old. Now, in the 60s, there was a bit of a Vox explosion, but I'm afraid this is also a Vox explosion. The first thing that's obviously exploded at some point is the power transformer, and it's missing. Although I do have one to replace it, and I'm going to pop this front off because it's put on with Velcro. And you can see we've got a chassis looming in there as to a fashion in a bit of a state. So we're going to fetch it out. And we're going to, oh yes, to get that plug through there. Let's have a look how well it's hardwired. Let's just pop it up on here so we can see it. And we've also got some wood there, which I need to figure out because they're obviously something to do with putting it together. So if we go into this corner, let's have a look at the condition of that. They've threaded this through the back of the cabinet, and I can't separate it from the chassis from the case. So to do that, I am going to snip those wires there. So we'll connect those back up later. So all the tubes are missing, and as I've said, the power transformer is missing. The caps are original. Some very strange looking things there. What are those? Let me just put some more light on this. That's better. We can see what we're doing now. I always forget to switch the second light on when I'm filming. I'm not quite sure what they are yet without looking at the schematic. Like some kind of inductor or coil thing. I don't know what they are. Not seen those in a tube amp before, but no doubt some of you have. And no doubt someone will be leaving it in the comments, and that will be greatly appreciated. So we've got a tube socket over here, so maybe that's phase inverter, I don't know. Let's just have a look on the faceplate. Let's have a look what we've got on this amplifier. Let's just pull this back. Pink's on the prowl, by the way, so she may put in an appearance on the bench, but we've got nothing live, so that's okay. So we've got the usual volume, but this strange EQ. Now, I've had some experience with one of these amps before, but it was probably about 25 years ago, and I seem to remember that this EQ, there we go, you see, we're filming Pink. Excuse me. No, we're filming. No, there's no food, and I've just fed you, and you come for more food. Pink, you're going to have to go, sweetheart. We're filming. We're trying to look at this EQ on this amplifier, and it's gone very orange all of a sudden. I don't know. Come on, sweetheart. There's a good girl. And don't stick your bum in the camera. That's most rude. We don't want that, do we? No, we don't. That's it. You on the floor. The EQ again. That's what we were looking at. So yes, we've got this. It's all done in frequencies. Now, I seem to remember these being a little bit erratic on these, but it is a long time ago, and I can't remember. We've got another volume, and then we've got sensitivity. Brilliant, a normal channel. We've got some damage here. I think I'll have to take the plate off, front plate off, to repair that, straighten that out. And we've got some rust there, so this has obviously been somewhere damp at some time. PC board. Let's have a look at the underside of the board. Well, it's a pretty straightforward one. Capacitors, not quite a few. Just looking at what we've got a mustard cap appeared in there and a couple more there. So that must have been towards the end of the mustard cap period, because I'm sure these are from about 1981. You don't tend to see mustard caps in amps much younger than that. Mains fuse is missing, as you can see there, and that's probably because obviously the transformer's popped out at some point. Here's the transformer that we're going to fit on it, which I've been given with this project, and this is from a 100-watt Marshall head. I can't remember which one. It's a diagonal transformer. Can't remember which one of them. One of the more modern type. It's not a really vintage one. TSL, something like that, one of those things. But that's a fair old size transformer. Should be okay to run this. Now this says 125, as implying it's 125 watts, but it only has 4 output tubes in it. So I very much doubt that we're getting 125 watts out of that. We would need 6 tubes to do that. So we're only going to be getting 100 watts out of this. And that transformer should run this okay. Just look at the capacitors, what ratings we've got on there. 350, 350, so those are wired in series. And we've also got, what we got in there, 32, 32 at 450 working. That's an added capacitor we can see there. Someone's put some tape around it just to widen it out to get it into the so that the clamp will tighten up, although I can't see the base of that. Just looking at these caps, they've been in a long time. What are they again? They're LCRs. They've been in there a long time. They're the others are the original caps. That one's been replaced. I've just spotted a transistor in this. We just hone in there, we can see it, look. So there is, not sure what that's doing. We need to find a schematic for this amp so we can see what's going on with it. We've got a trim pot here. Maybe that's for the bias, but I'm only speculating on that. It probably is. And I've got, ew. Ew. What is that? Oh dear. Here we go again. So that's been snipped. I've got, what's this wire? Is this coming from the main? Now that is, I just realised that, so we'll just back the camera out again. That is really bizarre. So we're dragging AC right across this board to get to the mains fuse on here. Is that right? Are we really doing? Yeah, we are, because that's coming from, just move that. Yeah, because that's coming from the switch on there. And also it's going down to, so is that an outlet? Oh no, that's the 240 220 switch for the voltage on there. And I can see that someone's had a go at that as well. My days. I think with this transformer we'll just get rid of that switch. So let's just turn it over. We can see that switch there. So that switch 240 220, but obviously that's for the other transformer. We don't need that, so that can go. So these strange things there, are they to do with the EQ on this amp? We need to look into those. So we've got a couple of wires here that have been removed. They're the filament wires. So this amplifier, let me just check what's going on here, because this doesn't. So we've got AC power at this head. That we supposedly, that's where the power transformer was. Well, we know it was there because we've got the gap for it. We've got AC dragged right across this board, right across the tubes and all the capacitors. So that's noise. Whichever way you look at that, that's noise. Well, theoretically it's noise. We've got the HT fuse there, and we've got the speaker sockets. This is the output transformer that we've got here. That's the filament voltage, which is being fed onto this preamp tube before it very odd how that's been put together. And then that goes over through there. That's right. Yes, we'll have to investigate that. This is a very, very strangely laid out amplifier. We've got a preset as well as, let's move that. If we go there, if we just bring the amp back because the tripod's nearly extended, we've got a trim pot there which is on that preamp tube, and that is a 470 ohms, so we need to find out what that's doing. I think that's a hum balance pot. Am I right with that? I don't know. Again, well, that's pin 9 and that's pins 4 and 5, so that's a hum balance pot for the filaments on the tubes. So we know what that is. We don't know what this transistor's doing. I've got 2 transistors, one there and we have got another one there. I rather hope those aren't on the input. But so what we're going to do with this amplifier is we're going to put a power transformer on it, and we're going to check the diodes first before we do that. In fact, I may just put some new ones in it. We've got 10k grid stoppers on the output tubes. We've got 1k screen resistors. We've got a burnt wire there. You can, well, the plastic's been melted on that, so that we can redress that. Now, a capacitor's been added here, we can see, and you can see that there's some crappy solder work there, but we can sort that out. I think I'll do some tests on that transformer and just see if that output transformer is blown as well, and we'll check and see if those diodes are blown. So before I put this transformer on this amplifier, which again we've got here, we just back out. Before I put this transformer on, I'm going to recap this amplifier. These caps have been in here for 40 years. The transformer may have just gone on its own accord, or maybe the diodes have gone short, maybe one of the capacitors has gone short and taken it out. Maybe somebody had too big a fuse in there, who knows. But before we even fire this amp up, I'm going to remove all these big electrolytics. I'm not even going to bother testing them. They've been in here 40 years. Even, you know, this amp's obviously, to burn out that transformer, it's had a massive short on it. So these components need to go, and so do those diodes. In fact, we could test those diodes and see if they are gone or not. Maybe we have to get a reading off them in circuit. Well, we maybe not be getting a reading off anything much longer if Pink has her way, because she's back on the bench again. You can just see her there, or a bit of her there anyway. Let's focus on these anyway. So that one will be for the bias, and I think that is the bias trim pot, I'm guessing. I can't get onto it to test it, but I think it is. So that this looks like the bias circuit to me here. So let's see what these are telling us. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I thought that one was open, but it's not. So the diodes are okay, but I'm still going to change them, because they may have had a bit of stress with that letting go, that transformer. Now then, what else can I see in here? So if we just focus in here on these 2 tubes, you can see, I'll just use this as a pointer. You can see that there's some bad solder work there and bad solder work there. What pin is that? Let's have a look. Well, that's pin 4, because that's the screen. So that's the plate. So that tells us that someone has had the wires off this output transformer. So let's see what resistance we have on that. Ooh, that's if we can find the center tap for it. Right, I've took this plate off, it's in the way, and I'm going to have to take it off anyway. I think I'm tempted to put that fuse down this end of the chassis. You know, this AC running across here is just a no-no. That doesn't need to be there, does it? And if you look, all they've done really is they've run the wires across, just 2 wires. That could easily be on this end of the chassis. I'm sure we can find a place for that down here, maybe on the back of this here somewhere. I'm trying not to tilt this forward, because the reason why I'm trying not to tilt it forward is because Pink's there and I don't want to hit her with it. Yes, that's the feed me face. Unfortunately, I've already fed her, so that's probably known as the seconds face. So I think, in fact, or we could even put it on the base at the bottom there, because I mean we've got that switch thing there. Maybe we could take that out and fit it there, but I think that's ludicrous having that there. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I think that's just stupid. Dragging that all the way across that PC board, it can only induce noise. Right, the reason I've taken this off is because I need to get to this center tap here, and you can see that's been off as well. So there's been some testing going on with this output transformer. So is that suspect? Maybe. And I'm getting less and less bench room all the time here now, because Pink is taking over. And we are going to test this transformer. So this is a 100-watt transformer, so we're probably going to get a very lowish resistance from this. So let's try this side first. Yeah, 37.5 ohms. I thought we'd get something pretty low. And so the other one, because what they've done, they've wired onto these center tubes, and then the other tubes are in parallel with them. Let's go with that. Yeah, 29.8. So there's a little bit of difference between those, but not massive. So we've got, so that looks good, at least from putting no current through it perspective. And we have, we're looking on here, let's just have a look. So brand, green is grand. Yep, green is grand. So we've got 2 tappings on this, 4 and 8. Yeah. So yeah, brown. Yeah. So I think that transformer's okay. As I said, from a perspective of testing it, I've not put any current through it, but that does look okay. Yes, Mr. Laycross has been in here as well, and just, you probably can't see if I tilt it, just move that pink wire, you can probably just see that they've just been laid across there, because that's a push fit. And you can get away with using a push fit if if you coil the wire around it and do it properly and make it a secure connection before you solder it, then it's going to be good. But that is just laid across there, and that, well, words can't describe that. But maybe somebody's been testing in this amplifier and they've just been tacking on and then they've given up. So that could be forgiven. We can't say that when they mended this they wouldn't go back later and make a proper job of that, to be fair. So I think we can not worry too much about that. Anyway, we can sort that out. So we've got these are the drop-in resistors that's been put in this amplifier, and yeah, I'm not sure I like how those have been done either. And then there's a carbon comp going across there as well, across that capacitor there. And then there's also, and you probably caught a glimpse of that, there's a wire wound wedged in there. I'm not sure what that's doing at the moment. That's going to ground, and also is going to ground on that capacitor. Yes, it is. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe we'll see that on the schematic, but is it factory? I don't know. Don't know whether that's been added or not. It's certainly been soldered, so whether it's factory, it's someone's had it out and at some point put it back in. Now I don't know whether they did I'm not an expert on Vox amps, and I think I've said this before, I've not worked on many, and I've been a guy that's never used Vox amps. I've got nothing against them, and AC30s sound great. I've just never kind of used those amps before. So I don't know whether they made one of these in the 60s, or they did. I know they did a 50-watt head. I can't remember whether they did 100. So I don't know whether this, if they did a 100-watt head, whether this is just the PC board version of it, or whether this is a completely different animal altogether. I'm guessing with that EQ on there though, it's a different animal, because you don't see that on amplifiers every day, do you? So there's a fair bit of work to put this amplifier together, quite a bit of work. Just see, let's do a switch, see what the switches are like. Not too bad. That one's a little looser. So it's obviously been previously owned by someone who is a lover of the standby switch. They're not excessive, they're not wobbly, so they probably had that nearly that much play in when they were new. Got all the original knobs on it by the look of it. This could be a fun project. It could be a nightmare as well, but it could be a fun project. This is just an assessment of this amplifier, really, just to see what needs doing to get this up and running. So let's just have a bit of a recap then. So we're going to change we're going to recap this amp before we do anything, because we've had a blown power transformer and we're not sure what caused that, whether the transformer just said good night, I've had enough, or whether one of these caps has gone short. We just don't know. The diodes test okay, but I'm going to change those anyway. One of the reasons is they're 40 years old. And then when we've changed those, we've tested the output transformer. When we've changed the caps and we've got this transformer installed, changed the diodes, and we're going to fire this amplifier up. And then from then on, we're going to see if, you know, how well this amplifier runs. There's some caps on the board here, some electrolytics. Those will need to be changed. And then we need to test for leakage on the grids of any of the tubes, see if any of these capacitors are leaking, because we don't know. There's a few things we need to find out what's going on with these transistors and things that I can't. You see, this amp's got no reverb on it. It's got no tremolo on it. So I'm a bit bemused as to why there's two transistors there. And without tracing out and seeing where they're going, and that to me is going on to that pot there, which is the sensitivity pot. So what's that about? The sensitivity pot, does that mean it's gain? Does that, we don't know what that is, do we? Sensitivity, not something you'd see on a Marshall amp, is it? Sensitivity. Number 11 is what we want to see on a Marshall amp. So if we just go back over to this, you can see this section where the power switch is. And again, you get the impression somebody's been doing a bit of a testing or whatever, because there's some electrical tape there. Maybe they tested another transformer on it and the transformer wasn't right, who knows. Maybe maybe that was the original 220 line and they've just snipped, although that's going to the switch, so I doubt that. So who knows? Obviously I've just snipped that off to get the cable out the back. We'll redo that, and that needs redoing anyway, because if you look at that ground on there, that looks a bit iffy, so that needs doing properly. Main switch is loose. You can't see me turning that, but that's all loose as well, so we need to address that. That's absolutely not safe. And I think that what we'll do with this ground, I think we'll drill that out and make a much bigger hole, and we'll have a much bigger, more substantial bolt in there for the ground. And that looks broken to me. That's the grip, sorry, can't see because of the light. That's the grip cord that for the to grip the cord for there. I'm not sure about that either. That may be broken. It's got that humongous bolt through it, and it seems split on this side, so we need to look at that too. So that's a fair assessment of this amp, and that's what we're going to be doing with this. This again is going to be an up and coming project on the channel, and Pink will no doubt be with us when we're doing it. So that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching, and you all take good care, and I'll see you all in a future video. So bye bye for now.